This short video will show one scholar's method for reading academic science articles by using section headings. First, I spend a few minutes trying to figure out what the title is really saying. For this science article, there are some technical terms right here in the title, and when I look up these words online, I learn that the title is saying that the poop of this animal species can tell us how long ago the animal lived in a habitat. Isn't that a fantastic bit of research? Now I already know the main argument of the article, and I can write that down in my notes. Next, I read through the first and last sections, which are usually the introduction section, and the conclusion or discussion section. That last section is really important because that's where the author interprets the results of their research and points out what they still don't know about the topic. I'll write down any interesting points from these sections. For example, pellet shrinkage is a slow process, which just tells me that poop shrinks slowly. And I'll definitely write down their recommendations for future research, which is usually one of the last things they put in their article. However, future research is required to define the limits of its general applicability. That way, when I read my next source, I'll see if they have followed these recommendations or helped to fill in the gap of knowledge in any way. Then I skim the results section and read the discussion section if I haven't already. I don't need to know all the details of the results, but I will write down, again, any ideas the audience of my paper might be interested in knowing. For instance, maybe my audience really needs to know that the exterior color of fresh pellets started out distinctly greenish brown and gradually faded. I'll write that down for them. It's important to keep your audience in mind as you search your sources for valuable information. Last, I go back up and skim through the methods section so I can understand what the author did to be able to reach their conclusions. Now, the target audience for this section is other expert researchers, so it's okay if I don't understand everything in here. I just need to know the basics of how the author conducted their research. I'll summarize that in a single sentence in my notes, and then in my paper, I might introduce this source with the summary sentence of the methods. If the article has a literature review section, which this one does not, I suggest reading that for a summary of the topic and maybe even ideas for other articles you can look up. A literature review is like a history of the research that came before that article and usually comes right after the introduction section. You probably won't quote from it in your own paper, but you can still learn useful things from it. So in the end, by taking notes and looking at words or ideas I didn't understand, I now know what the author of this article did, what they learned, and what they didn't learn. These notes will help me write about this article in my paper.